Ready?
Already.
Okay. Hi, YouTube. She's Monica.
He's Anthony.
And we're the
cooks.
I just did it to throw you off a little bit.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Today, we're going to talk about marriage, of course. But what we're going to talk about is what will happen in your marriage.
Wait, so are you about to try to predict the future?
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit.
Predict
Yeah.
on. Predict on. I'm going to sit back and enjoy the ride.
What will happen in your marriage? So many times we want to get married, we want to be engaged, we want to be in relationships. And in our mind, we have a vision of what we think it's going to be like.
I did.
You did?
I had a great vision of what it was going to be like.
What did you think it was going to be like?
You know the old cartoons where the husband comes home and the wife greets him and she's wearing something hot and she has like a martini in her hand? Yeah, that didn't happen. And then I also thought about that like on the Cosby Show where like I would wash the dishes and then you would dry the dishes and you would be like chopping up vegetables and I'd come up behind you, put my arms around you, and you'd be like, oh, honey, go sit down and enjoy a cigar. Dinner will be ready in a little bit.
Okay.
That was my vision.
So, what is your vision? What was your vision for marriage? Has it turned out the way you thought it was going to be envisioned? No.
I mean, it's wonderful. I ain't gonna lie, but it's incredible. If it wasn't incredible, I wouldn't be doing these videos. It's incredible, but yeah, but
so we all had visions when we were thinking about relationships, being engaged, being married. Unfortunately, we all come from different backgrounds. So what if you're somebody who was a single parent? Now all of a sudden you have a wife or a husband, or you were born an only child, and all of a sudden you have to share your toys, and it's not all about you. Single parents, before you got married, you were like, oh, he loves my kids, and I have no problem with him disciplining them, and you say you're gonna do all these things, and then you get married,
and everything is thrown off. Everything is thrown off. You know what? I'm gonna say something. I like to throw teenagers off. I like to throw people off guard, and so I've had teenagers that'll come up to me and they'll say, Pastor Daz or Mr. Cook, I don't know. And I'll look at them and say, you can't yell at me. You're not my real mom. And the kids will just kind of look at me. Okay. And I throw people off when I do that. But the thing about it is that the average teenager that has come from a single parent home or a newly joined family home, no matter how much the person comes into it and says, you know what, I'm going to treat you like you're my own. I'm going to love you.
Mm-hmm.
I met this person. They're wonderful. They love me. They're going to love my kids. Everything is awesome. At some point in time, that kid is going to say, you can't yell at me. You're not my real dad. Or you can't yell at me. You're not my real mom. And it totally throws you off because, like you said, when you go into it, your mind state is, this is the way that it's going to be. Well, what do you do when that monkey wrench gets thrown in there? What do you do when that kid turns around and yells at you and says, you know what, you're not my real mom? How do you as a couple deal with that? What do you do from that point?
Yeah, because here's the thing. A lot of it's gonna happen because because of our protection. Let's just say our protection over our kids, over how we feel. We don't want people invading that space. And sometimes the way you perceive them invading that space makes you feel uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. Change is uncomfortable. Allowing somebody to come in and they're not your kid's biological father, or when you get married and God is meshing you into being one, it is uncomfortable because a lot of things that are hidden in your heart are going to start to come out.
Well, I don't want to jump in, but you know what? You know what this makes me remember?
What?
This makes you remember, and I don't know if we might have to edit this out, but I remember when our kids were really, really small, and our oldest daughter, I can't remember what she did. She did something, and she was about to get a spanking. And when she was about to get that spanking, you stepped in and you were like, "Oh, whoa, whoa, pump your brakes, pump your brakes." And when we first got married, she didn't want me to discipline the kids. She was like, "You're not, no, it's not happening." And these were our biological kids.
Yes.
I'm their daddy. But when we got married, and a lot of couples don't do this. A lot of couples, and well, maybe we should do a video on this. A lot of couples don't talk about the what ifs, the wins. When we started this today, and you said, and I said, "Are you going to predict the future?" Here's the prediction of the future. I can walk up to, with pretty much great certainty, any kid in any elementary school, and I can walk up to them and I can tell them, one day you're going to be riding in your car with somebody and you're going to have a flat tire.
Yeah.
Now, is that me being psychic?
No.
No. What I'm telling them is that the law of averages says inevitably you are going to have a flat tire. Well, with my son, his car, we worked on it yesterday, and I looked in his trunk and I noticed that he has a spare tire, but he does not have a jack. There is no jack in the trunk of his car.
Not gonna do it.
So now, inevitably, one day, is he going to get a flat?
Yes.
More than likely. Probably. So what we're saying is that those days are going to come. How are you going to resolve those problems? How are you going to prepare for those problems? If my son goes out right now and he has a flat tire, yes, he has a spare, because he said, "I'm going to have a flat and I have a spare." But has he really put forth the thought process to be able to say, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to have a flat tire. When I have this flat tire, how am I going to lift the car?" And what we're saying in this is those problems are going to come.
They're gonna come. And here's the thing, because I was telling him, when we talking about what's gonna happen in your marriage, everything that is worth anything is going to cost you. You are going to have to sacrifice. God sacrificed his son to reconcile humanity unto himself. Wars are not won without sacrifice. Somebody's going to sacrifice for the greater good. So when you start to get into these situations, are you willing to sacrifice your pride? Are you willing to be humble enough to say, "You know what? I need to work on this area"? Are you willing to allow God to heal you and work on those things that are causing problems? If you're a single parent, if you were a single parent and you come into a marriage, are you willing to sacrifice and get past what you've been doing to allow somebody else to come in and help you raise your kids? Because when you took the vows on both sides, you made a covenant before God that if these are not your biological kids, now they're your biological kids.
Yeah.
So there's no difference. So, what are you willing to sacrifice? Because it's going to take sacrifice. You got to get past what you want. Human nature is selfish. We're very selfish. We're self-seeking, and we will preserve what feels good to us.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that is awesome, because when we're talking about problems are going to come, those situations are going to come. What my wonderful wife just did was that she gave you a fix-all. She gave you a shortcut. She gave you a way to be able to say, "Hey, you know what? These problems are going to come. What am I going to do? What am I going to do?" In a house, you have a lot of different things in the house that can go wrong. A lot of different things. And I'm talking about on the physical of a house of a house structure. But if somebody gives you a can of WD-40, like what she just gave you, that sacrifice tool, WD-40, your doors get stuck, spray a little WD-40 on it. Your hinges get messed up, a little bit of WD-40 on it. Water gets inside of something electrical, a little bit of WD-40. You can use that one tool.
Really?
You can use that one tool for a lot of different things. But if you don't know that, you don't have those tools. You know what I mean?
So here is the key to sacrifice. You have to love more than you love yourself. You have to love beyond selfishness. Your love is the weed killer. Your love is the WD-40. Your love is the sealant. How much are you willing to love beyond yourself? Because God loved beyond himself that he sent his son. So you have to figure that out. What happens in your marriage, you have the ability to determine that. How much do you love what God has entrusted into your hands? How much do you love your spouse? You know, one of my notes is one of the things that you should be the busiest about is your marriage and your family. That should be the busiest thing in your life.
You know what? When you start talking about the love thing, it made me realize something. When I was in the military, and anybody who's watching this who went through basic training, do you notice that in basic training they never really trained you, so to speak, how to kill? Yeah, you learned how to shoot and you learned how to fight and all this other kind of stuff. But there was really no training for killing. There was no training for war, so to speak. Yeah, you learned the technical aspects of it. You learned missiles and bombs and shooting and all. But to actually learn war, to be able to go in and be willing to sacrifice your life. Do you know how they did that? How they trained us? How they programmed us for us?
Wow.
They made us love our country. That's what they did.
Wow.
They made us love our country. If you remember basic training, you
Wow.
loved the Pledge of Allegiance. You loved the music. You loved the hearing of taps. At the end of it, when they played those songs, I'm proud to be an American where at least I know I'm free. Do I sound like a slave, like all day spiritual? But what they did was they didn't work on teaching you how to die for your country or how to fight for your country. They didn't teach you how to sacrifice your life for your country. What they did was they taught you to love something more than you love yourself.
Amen.
So in this, what are we trying to teach you? You know what? If you go into your marriage with the concept of sacrifice, because we started off with sacrifice, but then you go into being unselfish. But what it all boils down to is you can't sacrifice and you can't be unselfish if there's something that you don't love more than you love yourself.
Yes.
When we tried to sum up marriage in one word, we came up with unselfishness. And we weren't really sure if that was a word. We still never looked that up.
No, we didn't.
But the one thing that we realized is there's no way to be unselfish without you loving the other person more than you love yourself. When my wife says, I love you, I look at her and I used to say, she'd say it.
I love you.
I love you more. And I used to say that. I used to say, I love you more. And then we started going back and forth between it. And it was like, no, you know what? I don't love you more. I love you more than I love myself. She loves me more than she loves herself. Because if she didn't, she wouldn't do half of the things that she does. I wouldn't wake up in the middle of the night and go get a glass of water for somebody. Because self-seeking, self-nurturing,
Yeah.
that self-desire of yourself, like you said, means that I want to stay in my bed comfortable and covered up with my blankets. But I'm willing to get out and do something for somebody else because I love the person more than I love myself. So ask yourself, because we're not psychic. We know the problems are going to happen. We know the situations are going to happen. We know that you're going to run into problems. And all that we're trying to do is we're trying to give you tools. We're trying to give you tools to be able to say, hey, you know what? When these problems arise, when my son has that flat tire in his car, boy, put a jack in your car. I'm telling you, you might think that you're not going to put a jack in your car. What we're telling you is things are going to happen in your marriage. You're going to have problems. You're going to have situations. You're going to have difficulties. You're two totally separate people that are constantly, from the day that you meet each other and the day that you make those vows, working to become one.
Yes.
Well, how are you going to be able to do that? What is one of the tools that you can use to be able to resolve all of those problems? Sacrifice, being unselfish, more than anything,
Love.
look at the other person and say, I'm going through this, and this. we are going through this, and this. How can I show them that I love them more than I love myself? Because if you ask yourself that question, you will resolve the majority of your problems. What do you think?
I think so.
By just
I know so.
keeping it in the not in the back of your mind, in the front of your mind. I love this person more than I love me. You guys started out as two individual people. You had one person over here.
Yeah. And one person over here.
And 1 plus 1
1
equals 1. And you can only do it through Christ. And so, YouTube, we love you guys. We appreciate you. We don't take you for granted. We thank you so much for subscribing to us and for telling people about us. Please, 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 please give us comments. Write something down in the bottom. Give us comments. If you ask us, we will answer. If you tell us, we will listen. But we can't do this without you. We can't. We don't want to just be sitting there talking to ourselves. That would be crazy.
And just remember, none of this is possible without God. Every single thing that we are sharing with you is not possible without Him.
We learned it from Him.
We learned it from Him.
We learned it from Him.
Okay. And remember this. Change is uncomfortable, but change is good.
Yeah.
Change is good.
Like a baby.
I don't understand.
Changing a baby is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable for you. Ugh. It's uncomfortable for the baby. But it's good. It's worth it.
We love you guys.
Once you change them, everybody sleeps better. All right. Okay, bye.
Bye.